This week on the Computer Chronicles, computers and politics. We'll show you the latest campaign software and web tools for running a political campaign. We'll meet a man who's using the internet to run a campaign for Congressman Tom Campbell. He's trying to unseat U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein. We'll take a look at the website for the top presidential candidates and show you what works and what doesn't. And we'll give you a peek into the future of 21st century democracy, voting online. Plus, my pick of the week, an amazing mapping program that's a must-have tool if you're in business. It's all coming up next on the Computer Chronicles. The Computer Chronicles is brought to you by RonDiamond.com, the oldies site on the internet. Music and memories from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, not just another jukebox. Additional support comes from the law offices of Ivan Hoffman, lawyering with integrity for internet law, copyright, trademark, and other intellectual property law. And by TechWeb for up-to-the-minute technology news. Hi, and welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stewart Cheifet. The internet has had a major effect on how we live our day-to-day lives. Research, communicating, advertising, shopping have all changed. Perhaps the most important change, though, resulting from this tech revolution is in the political realm. PCs and the web have forever changed the way politicians run their campaigns. If you're a political campaign manager these days, you'd better be web savvy. One of the things you'd better know about is something called Aristotle Publishing. It's the leading company selling high-tech solutions to political campaigns. Here to give us some insight as to how the candidates are using the web and campaign software is Michael Farmer of Aristotle Publishing. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
All right, one of the things you guys are doing are selling web ad banners, interactive banners to candidates. They're advertising just like everybody else is. You have some really cool examples. For instance, one for George Bush. Show us how that works.
Absolutely. This is very exciting. What the political candidates are able to do is take the issues out to the people and put a banner in front of them and bring in an interactive sense.
So this banner might be floating on any website. It's an ad banner.
Absolutely.
But I can do something with it.
Let me show you this Bush banner. It is actually a tax calculator. It's interactive media. You go through it, you click on a couple of buttons, and you determine how much money under the Bush plan you'll save.
So the idea is I see that how much I'll save, I'll say, hey, that Bush idea is pretty good. He's going to get me so much money. I vote for him.
Absolutely. It'll also engage you into his website. Now all of a sudden you can volunteer, you can contribute.
Got it.
So.
All right, now you have one for McCain also, right?
Absolutely.
Now this was kind of an important one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we have Steve Forbes up here right now. What was this one?
Steve Forbes actually utilized this banner. Is very interactive, and what you can actually do is put the issues right onto the banner to show the people where you stand on the separate issues. Furthermore, he even put a video on this, and this went out as a banner, of course.
Right.
And people pull this up, and they can learn more about the candidate, become engaged, and then all of a sudden contribute.
All right, and mainly you don't have to pay for those 30-second TV spots. These spots are sitting on your website, and people can watch them anytime they want.
Absolutely. Let me just pull this up. If we're going to watch this little video, it'll come
All right, so this is like, a 30-second or 60-second TV commercial. Here's where Forbes stands on the issues or whatever.
Absolutely.
And let's see if we can get this guy working here. There we go. Now, Forbes isn't in the race anymore, obviously, but the website's actually still up, right?
Absolutely. Yes. We're showcasing what Forbes actually developed as far as a banner ad campaign.
Yeah.
We worked with him. Targeting, the results that you can get from this are click-throughs as high as 7%.
Which is pretty dark. Let's take a look at the spot for a second.
Later in the spot, you'll actually see he'll bring on some people and they'll talk about the candidate.
It's a TV commercial.
Absolutely.
Forbes is a great guy, blah, blah, blah. All right, let's move on, and because we've got a lot to show. Can you get that McCain site up? Because that was an interesting ad banner, too.
I don't believe, let me just pull that up here. What I can do is go in and...
All right, so these are like demos you have on your website, actually, for all these different candidates.
And what I'm actually pulling up here...
I see McCain over there.
The McCain, he used this in Virginia to get on the ballot. And what's these?
So again, it was an interactive ad banner.
Yep. And you can click right on the banner and say, I want McCain on the ballot in Virginia. Look at this. Third one down.
All right, you want him on the ballot, and it actually worked.
Yep. Absolutely, it worked very well.
Okay.
The response rates up to click-throughs up to 7% on some of these banners.
All right, so you're selling guys ad banners. I think you told me you've got like thousands of people waiting in line for these ad banners.
Right.
Another thing you have is voter lists online, which really makes it easy to go find who should I be contacting, who should I be talking to, who should I be sending direct mail to.
Absolutely. One of the things we've actually done with the voter lists online is even take it to the extent of mapping. Here's what we did in particular in New Hampshire. There are 142 million registered voters. Aristotle has accessed
throughout the country?
Yes, absolutely. Throughout the whole U.S. 142 million people. We take that, we build this database, and in New Hampshire, for example, we created a map where you can go on and take a look at what the
okay, so the high points on the map in this particular version is like where most of the people are.
Absolutely.
So if you're trying to figure out how to allocate your resources, where to place your ads, where to send the guy to a town meeting, go to the high points on the map.
Very interesting thing took place in the Michigan primary. Engler told Bush where he should exactly go, and it may have been his Good Boy Network. Nobody knows. But
not as good as the hard data.
Absolutely.
Can you show us? You also have a contribution engine which you put on Alan Key's website for him. Do we have the Key's website up there?
Yeah, absolutely. This is probably the biggest thing that's going on in the internet right now.
Raising money on the web.
Raising money. And the neat thing about raising money on the web is that it's quick. And the other thing is there's something called a fat cat. And people normally go and will solicit from a fat cat. There's a new term out because of the internet called the skinny cat. Because the people that actually contribute online contribute.
Lots of people with a little bit of money.
Lots of people with a little bit of money.
All right, last thing I want you to show me, a great tool you have called Web Wizard. It's not just about the presidential race. What would you say? There's 250,000 people running for office right now?
Absolutely. In any given election cycle, 250,000 people will run.
And so if I'm running for dog catcher with Web Wizard, I now have my instant candidates website.
Absolutely. Not only is it a website that just shows your image, your issues, but this particular website will set up a contributor
so I can get donations. You even have a survey. Could you scroll down there where I can say, hey, what do you think about this particular issue?
Absolutely.
I can do my own little private polling.
Right here. You're
That's
engaging
great.
the candidate.
Mike, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, we've seen a little bit of what's out there in terms of high-tech tools for political campaigns, but how are the candidates actually using this stuff, and do they think it's effective? Here to take us into the political trenches is Joshua Ross, the internet strategist for the Tom Campbell for Senate campaign. Hi, Josh.
Hello.
And Tom Campbell running for Senate here in California against Dianne Feinstein, who's the incumbent. You guys have a website up there. Is it kind of a fad to have a website, or is it really an effective campaign tool for you?
Oh, it's not a fad at all. I think that it's a very effective campaign tool, and I think that this year is giving us a glimpse into what campaigning is going to look like in the future.
But you mentioned some people actually in the past put up websites just because the press would write about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that in the past, campaign websites primarily were set up to try and generate press attention, maybe get a few users to come see them. I think that this year you're actually starting to see campaign websites go up online that are trying to accomplish something substantive.
Yeah. All right, now your candidate is from Silicon Valley. I mean, that's the district, so if anybody does it right, you guys should do it right, I guess. You have Tom's website up here, and just sort of take us, give us a tour and show us the kinds of things you're trying to do on the website.
Okay. What we've put up here is some biographical information about Tom Campbell. That includes his background, a little bit about his experience, and just generally some of his publications and photos.
What's a photo gallery? What is this? Just pictures of him on the campaign trail?
Exactly, just pictures of him on the campaign trail.
So just sort of just warm, fuzzy stuff to get people to know who he is?
That's right. We're his name ID is not very high at this point in the campaign, and as it progresses, it will be increasing. But we're trying to give people an understanding of who Tom Campbell is and what he stands for.
All right. So what else do you do? So we have the About Tom issues.
One of the most important areas of the site is the issues portion of the site. Tom Campbell is trying to run a campaign that has a theme of substantive content, a positive message, and direct communication with the voters. The website allows us to do all these things. And in the area of substantive information, the issues area of the website specifically.
So if I'm a voter and I'm trying to decide whether to vote for Tom or whether to vote for the opponent, I can say, well, what is his position on education or
That's
whatever?
right. If you're interested in education, for example, you can come to the education portion. We have video on the site of him talking about the education
Okay, so a little
issue.
clip of him talking about
That's right. And you can read an introduction. You can read a little bit about what his record is on that specific issue. And if you want to, you can drill down into more in-depth content, for example, how to attract and retain good teachers in California.
All right, now, so what's new? Is that just sort of latest press stuff about him?
Exactly. News are just some of the latest press clips.
Well, let's go to Town Hall. That's kind of interesting. Explain that one.
Absolutely. The Town Hall meeting is something that he set up a few years ago in an effort to have direct communication with his constituents in the 15th
So this sort of a virtual Town Hall meeting?
Very much so. The internet allows Tom Campbell to have direct communication with the voters one-to-one, no interference, no campaign staff in the middle.
So I can go on there and sort of post a question, Tom, what would you do about this situation?
Right, exactly. So for example, if we go underneath the budget area, you'll see a number of questions that have been posted by constituents and just generally.
What's your view on paying off the debt?
Exactly.
Et cetera, et cetera.
And so each night he logs on his laptop and is able
and answers these questions.
Answers them personally. And this is great because it allows a few things. One is that it is done on the user's time and on the candidate's time. They don't have to be in the same place at the same time.
So it's kind of better than a real town hall meeting in a way.
Yes, absolutely.
You just don't get to press the flesh and do that.
That's right. Well, you get to have the direct one-on-one communication with the voter by answering their questions, but at the same time, by using the internet, you're able to post the material online and let all the voters of California log on and see the types of discussions you've had with people.
All right, now everybody thinks the website is cool because you can raise money on a website, right? How do you guys do that?
That's right. Well, we have a very simple donation form that allows you to donate via credit card. And that is extremely effective, both because it allows people that aren't necessarily on campaign donation lists, people that aren't being asked for donations to be able to...
I might not have gotten direct mail from you or been called, and I can go on here and say, oh, I like this guy, I'll give money.
And also if you expressed interest in making a donation to the campaign, opposed to going through the traditional method of getting your name, having a volunteer contact you.
So it's less expensive to acquire the donation.
Absolutely.
And I take it you get the money faster.
Right, absolutely. The turnaround time is dramatically shorter, as we saw in the recent presidential election with John McCain.
Now, this sounds very high-minded. You know, I mean, issues, it's all good and clean. There's like no nasty stuff in there. There's no, you know, down in the trenches strategy. Is that just the approach of this particular candidate?
That's the approach of this particular candidate. He's trying to run a very, very positive campaign, and I think that the internet definitely supports that. However, you're going to find other campaign sites that go extremely negative.
Right. What about the use of email? Is that a great tool for you guys?
Yeah, it is a great tool. It allows us to, the typical way that we used to do it is you want to have an event, you'd have a number of volunteers come in, set up a phone tree, have them call hundreds of people and trying to get the turnout. Nowadays, that time has been reduced to one volunteer in about 5 minutes writing out an email, sending it out to the people that are in the right geography, and hopefully getting a good response.
And you had a good example, right? There was the recent Republican convention here in Burlingame, California, and you were able to use that to get people to come, right?
Absolutely. We have a fairly large email distribution list of people that have specifically signed up and said that they would like to receive email from the candidate, people that are supporters. And what it allowed us to do is say, send out an email to everybody that's in the Bay Area that we think might be interested in coming to this convention, and the turnaround time was 5 minutes.
Josh, last point real quick. You've got an uphill battle, very popular incumbent there. Is the web an equalizer? Is it easier for a guy with less money to compete?
I don't know if you'd call it an equalizer, but it certainly gives him a distinct advantage that candidates that were in the same situation in previous elections didn't have. He's not going to be limited to only 30-second spots to try and communicate who he is and what he stands for. He can give out his URL, people can come there, and they can get a much more in-depth understanding of who he is.
Josh, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
All right, coming up next, a look at the websites of the would-be presidential candidates and the future of internet voting. Don't go away, we'll be right back. By now, we all know that websites for political candidates have become a critical ingredient to anyone hoping to get elected. And the Super Bowl of campaign websites, of course, is the battle for the presidency. Here to help us figure out who's doing it right and who's doing it wrong is Lindsay Arendt, a writer for Wired News, who's written extensively on the online efforts of the presidential candidates. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi.
All right, we have a bunch of them here. Let's start with John McCain. That's the classic story of raising a lot of money on the web. Anyhow, do you think that's a good website?
Yeah, John McCain's done a great job. It's a scrappy website. It's streamlined.
What does scrappy mean?
Scrappy means they put it up, they have young people running it, and it doesn't have too many bells and whistles. It's not crowded or cluttered, but it gets the job done.
Okay.
He's got things like instantly when you get on, you have a cookie come up asking you to give them money. He's got an extensive...
So they know what the web's about, these guys.
Definitely, definitely. And they have an extensive group of people who are volunteers who are running the websites who are doing a great job in the individual states.
Now they use email pretty cleverly here too, right? Once they get you?
Very much, very much.
They're hitting
you get
every
emails
day?
every single day, at least once or twice a day.
And he did a cool fundraising thing, right? If you wanted to chat live with John McCain, you paid so much for it?
Right, it's actually a pay-per-view kind of thing with a candidate that I've never seen before, where you pay $100 or more, you get to chat live, like you were saying, with John McCain. And I don't know how much money he got out of it, but it was a great idea.
Pretty clever. Now let's go to Steve Forbes. He's out of it, obviously, but he did a pretty darn good website, didn't he?
Yeah, he has all the bells and whistles. He has his commercials at the bottom. He's got all these little things, these icons everywhere, these e-precincts, which are supposed to be this big deal.
What is e-precincts?
It's where everybody in different geographic locations are sort of separated via the web, and they get together in their areas
All right,
via
so
email.
gather your little support groups in each of the communities you need them when he's about to show up in town or whatever.
Exactly, exactly. But to me, the website, even though it has all of this fancy stuff, doesn't really do it for me. I mean, it's very crowded. There's a lot to look at. You don't really want to go through that, and there's no direct message at you right away.
Yeah, kind of too corporate in a way. I mean, not the scrappiness you were talking about in McCain there.
Exactly.
Didn't do much good, obviously.
Well, obviously
Spent
not.
a fortune.
Yeah.
All right, let's try another example. Gary Bauer, here's another failed candidate, and you think his website was pretty lousy, actually.
Yeah, I kind of do. I think it's pretty cheap looking, and they obviously didn't put a lot of effort into their web effort as in part of the campaign. You look at this good news thing. Here it is with late February, and this is left over
A little
from
bit out of date, 6-7 weeks.
Yeah, it's back from the
Well, maybe I haven't
Iowa
had
New
good
Hampshire
news in a
polls.
long time.
Exactly, and actually talking to the people in the campaign, they don't really know what's going to happen with the website. They haven't made any plans to take it down, to update it. They just kind
Yeah.
of think, oh, we'll just leave it the way it is, which shows they don't care that
All
much
right,
about
let's
it.
go to George W. Bush next.
Okay.
Ton of money, supposedly sophisticated campaign, but a lot of problems with his website, right?
Yeah, yeah. This is a website that looks pretty good. They did have to overhaul it at once or twice. It was originally run by all volunteers, and George W. Bush did not show that he was very net savvy when he tried to shut down this website, this parody site, gwbush.com. He tried to go to the FEC, the
So
federal...
these guys put up G.W. Bush to make fun of him.
Exactly.
And he didn't know the web culture. Let it be.
Right, he tried to make a big stink about it, and basically that's an assault on people's privacy. Everybody was up in arms about it, and he showed that he didn't know much.
He did another kind of dumb thing on his website too, and sort of posting the contributors list in PDF formats, and nobody could really see it.
Exactly, that was also a big gaffe. I mean, he's shown that he really isn't an internet savvy kind of candidate. I mean, I think he's alienated a lot of young people that way.
All right, let's go to the Dems for a minute and take a look at Bradley and Gore. And what do you think of the Bradley site?
I've liked Bradley's
Pretty
site
nice,
from the beginning. I mean, from the very beginning, he was always up there with a good web presence. He always had photos. Every event that he went to, they would put photos up. They had this biography. It's just very clean. Little map there so you can check on where you're from and see what's going on.
Does it matter, you think, other than the fact that we like it? I mean, is there a consequence to a good website, a bad site?
I don't know. I think the good, clean websites that aren't too cluttered, that have a direct message, usually do pretty well. I mean, Bradley has raised quite a bit of money online.
Got it.
He's done pretty well, and so has John McCain.
So maybe there's a correlation.
Yeah.
What about Al Gore's site?
Al Gore's also a pretty good site. Let's see what it looks like here. They also have, they have some bells and whistles. They have a cursor that morphs into a comment when you sort of download it. They have a kids section.
What's the point in the kids section?
Getting them young. Try to get them into the party when they're young.
All right, it's like selling Hershey
I think
bars.
it's good. I find that it's slightly boring. I don't know. It's not so different than
Yeah,
the
it doesn't
other
look
ones.
real exciting visually, that's for sure.
It's good watching the commercials.
Okay.
Pretty simple.
Now, what's interesting, and we talked about this a bit before earlier in the show, is anybody can put up "I'm running for president" website, right?
Right.
And you got a lot of real wacko websites up there, and I think you have one good example: Fig Bar Man for president. What is this about?
It's just some random person who wants to make a statement, put a website up. It's easy enough. That's what the net's all about.
Right.
I mean, you have Admiral Akbar, which is a cartoon alien for president. You have random people running for president all over the internet. It doesn't mean anything, but it's for fun.
Just jokes.
Yeah.
So on the web, anybody can run for president.
Anything
I guess,
goes.
Huh? You can never
Yeah.
tell. Thanks a lot, Lindsay.
Sure.
Well, the final step in integrating the internet into the political process would be online voting. While that prospect scares some people, it is probably going to happen. One of the leaders in the movement for internet voting is Warren Slocum, the Chief Elections Officer for San Mateo County in California, right here in the middle of the Silicon Valley. Hi, Warren.
Hi.
All right, first of all, there are a couple of, before we get to the voting, there's some pretty good websites you like as a guy who has to sort of administer elections, and one of them is this Shape the Future, which solves a big problem you guys have, right?
Of course, one of the most common questions on election day is, where do I go vote?
Right.
With this
Who do I call to find out where to vote?
Yeah, that's exactly right. With this website, you can put in an address, a zip code, and your birth date, and click the button Submit, and the site then returns.
Checks if you're registered.
First of all, checks to see if you're registered to vote. And
I'm glad you're registered. That's good.
Also, it
where
tells
to
you
go?
where your polling place is. And in this case, I'm voting at the school, the Roosevelt School here on Vera. And if I need to know directions, I can click on the link,
great.
and it'll bring up the directions.
Is this only in San Mateo County, or is this over the country?
This particular application is in San Mateo County. Throughout America, there are various styles and types and approaches.
That's
to
a great
all this.
service.
Yeah.
All right, now speaking of service, just figuring out what you want to do, how to figure out the complicated vote. Certainly here in California, where we have all these propositions and the issues are so complex. There's another site, I guess, the League of Women Voters have up.
The League of Women Voters has a great site called Smart Voter. The tagline is state-of-the-art citizenship. And this site allows you to put in your street address, your zip code, and it'll actually return to you your real ballot. That is the things that you...
So you get a real sample ballot online and sort of practice your voting?
Exactly. And there's enhanced voter information for all the candidates and the measures and the propositions. So from a voter perspective, it really is an enhanced voter education
And again,
site.
is this a regional thing or a national thing?
This is in several counties in California, some counties in Ohio, and the League is looking to spread that application across the
All right, now let's talk about the voting online. There are actually companies in business now trying to develop engines for doing this. And one of them, which actually has a sort of demo online, is votehere.net. Explain what this is.
Well, votehere.net is an internet voting company. It's one of 3 or 4 companies, and they actually have a site, votehere.net. It allows us to go in and actually sort of see what internet voting might be like.
What it would look like to vote on the net?
Exactly. Comes up and it tells us we're about to cast our ballot. It takes us just a moment here to download the ballot. And in essence, this is what a real internet ballot
what it would
might
look like to vote on the web.
And you would just, on this particular ballot, get to vote yes and no. This company actually did a binding party vote in Alaska in January. And then there are other companies that are doing Arizona, for
there's
instance.
a couple others. Can you show us? I think there's what, votation.com, which did the Arizona sort of trial ballot. Is that up here somewhere?
Here is votation.com, and they're doing the Arizona vote on March 11th, a party vote. There's another company called, let's see here.
There's one called, I think, internetvoting.com. There it is.
Internetvoting.com is same idea. So there are 3 or 4 major, right at this moment, internet voting companies.
Now, there's sort of a halfway step, and if I can ask you to grab that little Votronic box over there, and let's show our viewers what this is. This is actually, well, you explain. What is this thing we're looking at here?
Well, this is a portable voting device. It can be multilingual.
So we're not online.
We're not online. It's a standalone electronic device, weighs 7 pounds, highly mobile. It can be multilingual. It can have multiple ballot styles. There are no paper ballots connected with this. And in essence, it brings up an electronic ballot. And there you see on this sample that we're going to cast a vote here simply by putting the stylus next to the candidate of our choice. We actually proceed through the ballot, making our choices by touching the spot. And then
so no paper, no real papers to count or scan or whatever?
No.
Well, so what are the advantages of using something like this, Warren?
One of the main advantages that I see is simply the strategy that it takes the voting to the people rather than the people having
So instead of having to go to a polling place, you could sit this in a shopping center, a place of employment, take it to a home for elderly people or something?
A community center, wherever.
Yeah.
So to vote then on this, we just touch the button vote and it comes up with a nice message, thank you for voting.
And again, this could be multiple languages, it's easy to change the ballot last minute, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
What about, finally, Warren, the real online voting stuff like we've seen here? There have been a couple demonstration projects. Obviously, people worry about security. They worry about privacy. What do you think about that?
I think those are legitimate concerns as a person who conducts elections for a living.
We're trading stocks online, though.
Of course we are, but an election is at the core of democracy. It's vitally important. And in a 2-vote election, an election administrator and the public need to be absolutely certain about the integrity of that process.
Will we get there?
We will get there. Someday you'll have a device that you'll carry around and you'll be doing direct democracy.
Going to vote on your Palm Pilot, your Palm 7.
I'm sure that will happen.
How far away?
Not this presidential
2004?
cycle. Maybe the next presidential cycle we'll see some of that.
Warren, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, that's our look at computers and politics. Don't go away. I'll be back in just a moment with my pick of the week, an amazing mapping program for would-be entrepreneurs. We've seen how politicians use sophisticated software to identify likely supporters and voters. Well, businesses can do the same thing in the search for new customers. And there is a terrific new piece of software out there to do that. It is this called XMap Business from DeLorme. You've probably heard of DeLorme. They specialize in software that helps you get directions to where you're going. But now they've taken that same technology, combined it with a massive national database, and created XMAP. In fact, their database includes over 100 million residential and business listings in the United States. This is powerful software that does so much it's really impossible for me to demonstrate it here in a minute or two, but let me try to give you an idea. Let's say you're opening up a retail business and you want to check out the competitive environment. With XMAP, you enter the location where you plan to put your store. You then ask the software, show me all other locations within a, say, 2-mile radius where people are offering the same service or product. XMAP will then search its database, list all your potential competitors, complete with name, address, etc. It will then actually locate all your competitors on a map, identify them for you, let you mark your location, draw a circle representing the area you're concerned with. You can then adjust the parameters, redraw the map, etc. You can also identify and locate almost any kind of business by keyword, zip code, area code, address, etc. You can pull up statistics on the demographics of a particular area. You can even import customer data from Excel or Access, turn that into a geographical map. You can plan the most efficient truck route for multiple stops on a delivery schedule. You can even hook up a GPS receiver, drive around the neighborhood while XMAP analyzes the area. This is an amazingly powerful mapping tool, and it sells for only $99. That's it for this week's edition of Computer Chronicles. Thanks so much for joining us. If you need any more information about anything you saw on today's show, please check out our website. We'll see you here next time. The Computer Chronicles is brought to you by RonDiamond.com, the oldies site on the internet. Music and memories from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, not just another jukebox. Additional support comes from the law offices of Ivan Hoffman, Lawyering with Integrity, for internet law, copyright, trademark, and other intellectual property law. And by TechWeb for up-to-the-minute technology news.
To purchase a videotape copy of today's program, call toll-free 1-888-310-7850. Please specify the show number and the topic.